So, welcome to week number 4. We have this week, next week, and then the following week until the first unit is done. So this is like the halfway point, right? I'm going to be talking to you about your projects today, and I'm going to be getting you started on them in earnest, right? It's going to be a day that's kind of devoted to you either catching up on assignments that maybe you've missed so that you can get ready for your project, but I'm also going to be starting you. We're going to be creating the document that you're going to be turning in as your final project in 3 weeks' time, right? And so it's really kind of important that you're here. And for all of those of you who are not, that's going to suck for you, because I'm not going to be here to answer any of your questions, and you're kind of going to be stuck on your own. I'm going to share my screen with y'all. First of all, just if you can you drop a Y in the chat for me if you're ready for me to get started and rocking our lesson for today? Thank you, Miss Reyes. Thank you, Kenya. Barbie, I'm assuming you're at work, so I'm just gonna go with that. All right, so let me share my screen with you. If you haven't already taken the opportunity of opening up Schoology and getting to the world history class, please do if you can, if that is something that is accessible to you at the moment. Because I've got two things that we're going to do today, right? The goal of today is to start to take the information that hopefully you've been working on and learning about COVID-19 and turning it into information that other people can access, right? I'm going to be asking you for your projects to be creating materials to help inform others. Because again, when we came into this class, a lot of people had some uncertainty and some myths about COVID, or some things that were true that they thought were myths. And so hopefully if you've been keeping up with the assignments, you're getting some of that information is becoming a little bit clearer to you, and I want you to share that with other people in a really clear, succinct way. So if we go and we look at the week 4 folder, right? Week 4 is where we're at, right? There was, our last week review. This week, we're taking it global, right? So I wanted you to start looking at 3 different countries and 3 different case studies of how other places in the world have responded to COVID-19, right? So I started off with China, because China is where the disease started, and so understanding how they dealt with it, because they were the first to get it. They're one of the most populous countries in the world, right? They are the most populous country in the world, meaning there are more people in China than in any other country, yet they have fewer deaths than we do. They have fewer overall cases than we do. So how did they get it first and have more people than we do, but have less, right? So I want you to kind of look at that. Then South Korea is another one of those early countries to get the disease, and they just beast moded it, right? Like they kept their transmission rate really, really, really low, and it's because of how they approached it. So I want you to take a look at the South Korean approach to COVID-19, because there's stuff that we could have learned from them, or still could be learning from them. And then the last one is Italy. Italy was the first European country to get really hit hard by COVID-19, and it was just brutal. Italy was one of those places where the death toll was so bad, they didn't have enough space for them in local morgues or in the hospitals, and they had to get driven away in trucks. It was really, really, really horrible in Italy. But they've really turned it around, and now Italy is one of the countries that's doing really well. And so it's even countries that are struggling. If you take certain steps as a society, you can change that, right? And so these 3 are really important for you, because I want you to start thinking about what could we be doing better, right? We're still struggling with COVID-19. Just today, I was having a conversation about how LAUSD, like the big school district, is starting testing of its staff and then pre-K students this week. And the reason is they want to just see, could we maybe come back? And there's just something about our country's desire and push to keep opening things up as quickly as possible, rather than when they're safe, might have something to do with the fact that we're still continuously fighting with this disease, and we're not winning. Cases continue to rise, and it's one of those things where it's like, we're the most we're the richest country in the world, and we have like some of the most advanced technology, and why are we still struggling with this? So looking at other countries first might give us an idea of what we could be doing differently, okay? But for us today, we're gonna be looking at these two different assignments. Looking ahead, COVID-19 map reading, and then starting your project, right? So if you click on looking ahead, because that's what we're gonna start with, right? And actually, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second because I want to switch it out. Sorry, I have so many tabs open because I'm a weirdo. All right. So if you click on looking ahead, COVID-19 map reading, and if you could just drop a Y in the chat for me when you're there, it should take you to a series of questions that look something similar to this. Thank you. Can you there? Each of the questions in this section, right, with the exception of questions 7 and 8, there's a link to a map. It's all the same link. So if you open it in a new tab, you can just have it and kind of go back and forth for it. It's a COVID-19 global tracking map. It was created by Johns Hopkins Hospital. It's a global, it's literally what it is. It's a global tracker of COVID-19, right? And you can use it to zoom in and zoom out around the world and take a different look. So like I could click on Tunisia and see how many cases there are in Tunisia. I also could use the tracking bar on either the left or the right-hand columns. On the left, it's covering how many total cases each country has, right? And you can kind of see, like Peru, for example, has had 829,999 cases, right, confirmed of COVID-19. On the right, there's two other columns, right? One is global deaths, right? And you have the global total of deaths up top, but then you also have the breakdown by country underneath. And again, you can scroll to see that. Or I'm sorry, and then the last column is just the number of deaths ranked in by US states, right? Showing you how many people have died in each state as a result of COVID-19, okay? So you can either scroll through the map and click, or you can use these columns to answer the questions, right? The first question that I'm asking you is just, as of today, there more, there is like a true or false. As of today, there are more than 1 million COVID-related deaths. True or false, right? Question number 2, as of today, 10/6/20, the United States has the most number of cases and the most number of deaths related to COVID-19. True or false, right? How many cases of COVID-19 have there been in the United States at the time that you're doing the assignment? So you're going to want to check on those columns, right? How many people have gotten COVID-19 in the U.S.? Question number 4, how many deaths have been caused by COVID-19 in the U.S. At the time that we're doing this? Question number 5 is, I want you, you're placing states in order, right? So it's like taking California, New York, Texas, and New Jersey and trying to put them in the right order of deaths, right? Like how many of who's had the most up top and then the least at the bottom. Question number 6 is how many cases of COVID-19 and COVID-related deaths have there been in Los Angeles, right? So you got to look at like Los Angeles County. So you're going to have to scroll in to see that. And then question 7 and 8, you don't really need the map for, but I just want you to take a minute to think of, why do you think the U.S. has the amount of cases that it does compared to other countries? And then which community do you think you would like to see doing more work on it? The federal government, like the big country government, like the U.S. government, the state government, like here in California, the city of Los Angeles, or like local, like your family, right? Or like a smaller community like the school, right? So just take a minute to answer those questions. Hopefully while you are, we're getting a couple more people in, because after that, I'm just gonna show you how to start your projects, okay? So let's take, it is 11:15 right now. Let's take like 10, 15, like we'll take 10 minutes and I'll check in on you to see if you're done with the assignment, like this first assignment, the looking ahead COVID-19 map. If you get done, drop a done or a D in the chat so I know that I can start to move on with the people who are here. Okay. Any questions about what I want you to do? You're going to be using the map that's linked in each of the questions to answer the 8 questions we got here. We good? Cool. I'll check back in with you at 11:25. We'll take like another minute or two, because then that'll give us plenty of time to get started on our projects. Okay, cool. Let's just we can just kind of share out. If you can kind of drop in the chat or just throw it out, because we can just go through these. So as of today, true or false? There are more than 1 million COVID-related deaths across the world. True or false?
True.
True, right? Like we crossed that threshold just over the weekend, right? Like as I was making videos for this class on Saturday, we had just crossed over the million deaths mark. True or false? The U.S. has the most number of cases and the most number of deaths. True or false?
True.
Yeah, true. The U.S. has over 7 million cases confirmed that we've had, and then we have the most deaths with over 200,000, which is, again, kind of crazy because we're not the most populated country in the world, right? We have a lot of people, but there are a lot of countries that have just as many or more than us, right? And we're also supposed to be like America, right? We're supposed to be the biggest and the bestest. So it's kind of nutty to think that we have the most deaths, right? And the most number of cases out of anyone. 3, how many COVID cases have there been in the U.S.? Like, what was the exact number? Right here. Kind of up top on the left-hand side.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. We've had 7,400,067 cases, right? So we're almost at 7.5 million cases, right? Our death toll is 210,000 plus, right? And climbing, right? Our arc is still going up, right? We still are continuing to have cases, right? We haven't kind of hit a curve like some of the other countries you're going to look at. We're continuing. We've slowed the curve, but we are still going up, right? So I just kind of did number 3 and 4. What was number 4? Oh, the states. What state has the most deaths?
New York.
Yeah, New York. Then Texas, and then Cali, and then New Jersey, right? And those are all really kind of close together. Like there's 16.4 in Texas, there's 16.1 in Cali, there's 16.1 in New Jersey. So we're all kind of like fighting for that second spot, right? I will say this though, California is doing a little bit better considering how we have 40 million people living in our state. But when you take a look at LA, we've had over 275,000 cases in Los Angeles, right? But only 6,000 deaths. And again, I say only 6,000 because statistically speaking, that's a small number, but that's still 6,000 plus families, right, that have been affected, and that's a lot of families, right? That's a lot of people who are gone and don't get to come back. And it's kind of, again, could we have prevented some of this? Could we still be preventing some of this? Because it's far from over, right? I guess for my last question for 7, why do you think we are the way we are? Why do we have more cases than anyone else? Why do you think that is?
Because we're ignorant.
Because we're ignorant. And could you explain it? I'm not going to argue with you. What do you mean, Yas?
Because you know, like most people still think that this isn't real, so they don't really take the precautions they're supposed to. They're not following the guidelines that we're given. So it's like if they're not infected or like they haven't been infected coming outside and everything, and not infecting others, like there's like they might be thinking like, oh well, then this isn't real, and just like whatever, screw it, like I'm gonna just live my life.
It's kind of like if it isn't real for them, it doesn't affect. If I'm not sick or someone who is really close to me isn't sick, yeah, I kind of can blow it off, right? That idea of, well, I don't have to wear a mask, you know, or I can go out, and it's just, we're still so committed to things like, you know, eating in public and like hanging out in bars, you know. But that's definitely part of it. Another part of it, though, it could be as well. We haven't had a lot of clarity from the federal government, right? Like that plays a role, you know, like the fact that the president of the United States got COVID-19 this week and is just kind of going out, and he got better care than anybody else, and that's what we're going to look at next week. The minute he got in, he had a team of doctors looking at him. He was on oxygen. He received like all of the possible drugs that could be helping him. Like earlier than most people are allowed to get them because they ration it for the sickest people in this country. And then he goes home last night and says, "Don't be scared of the disease. It's not something to be scared of, right?" And so we have this kind of misinformation coming all the way from the top. So it's kind of hard. I mean, it's easy to just blame, you know, people on the streets, but it's kind of like from the top to the bottom, there's a whole lot of wackiness kind of going on when it comes to COVID-19. Just out of curiosity, and you can drop it in the chat or you can share, which community, if you could only put it on one community, who would you say needs to do the most right now? Like the federal government, the state government, the city, or like just local community groups, right? Like families or schools?
I think it's the federal government because I feel like they never really put us like on quarantine or tried to like in a way make it seem like they were taking control of the situation. To me, they didn't really do much about it. To me, they're not really doing anything about it still.
I'm not going to fight you on that one. I think because what I'm going to say is I think all of these people could be doing more. I think some have done better than others. Like I feel like the state of California did try to have some level of regulation, right? That the federal government, you're entirely right, Barbie, like has just been kind of hands off. Like, well, whatever states want to do. If they feel like it's important, great. But even then, they've been kind of like undermining some of that stuff, right? So I could definitely see the federal government doing more. Anyone else? Another one that you thought you either agree with Barbie or you think another one could be doing more? The only reason why I ask is because your assignment, what we're going to transition to now. Oh, yes, you agree. What we're going to transition to right now is you're going to be making an information graphic, right? Your project, the final project for this class, is going to be taking some of the information you've learned and just simplifying it in a way to where people can see it and maybe do something about it, right? And so thinking about who we want to be messaging to is important, right? Now, I don't think anything that we make is going to make its way to Donald Trump, and even if it did, I don't think he's going to care or could even read it. But we could be influencing other people around us to pressure the federal government, right? To be trying to get more people engaged in the process. Woohoo! I think Cynthia just showed up. Welcome to the party, girl.
Sorry, I completely thought, I don't know where the hell my head is. I thought I had you at 2 or 3 whenever the hell I have you in the afternoon.
Well, yeah, you got me then too. But it's okay. You're here now, and you're here just in time for us to start talking about the projects. So just like I was saying, though, you don't have to necessarily lock down one of these, but I want you thinking how you message things. Because how I talk to my mother is very different than how I talk to Miss Miranda, the CEO of our program, and it is different than I would talk to politicians, right? So who I want to be messaging to might influence the type of messaging that I do. Okay, so I'm going to back out of the assignment right now that you just completed, And submit this, right? Again, there's no right or wrong. I mean, there are some right or wrongs, but I'm just checking to see if you can kind of gauge that. We will be going back, and I will be having you use that map again. So it's just good to know it as a tool. But now I want you to go to the starting your project assignment, right? So if you back out of the looking ahead piece and go into starting your project live Zoom session required assignment, if you click on that, you can give me a Y once you get to it. Just so I know that you're there, drop a Y in the chat for me. Thank you, yes, I did.
So I can't do it right now because I'm on my mobile and I'm not home.
Yeah, that's fine. You may want to then just watch the video or at least listen along the way. But I'm actually getting people to start their projects right now. And so yeah, if you can't actually do it, then it might be a little bit tricky. But yeah, I'm just going to kind of actually get the process rolling. So if you want to watch, you can, or you can watch. You can come back later.
No, I'll just stay and watch, and then I'll watch the video later so I can get it.
Okay, cool. So the reason why I'm having you do this is because your projects are technically due on the 10th. On the 23rd of October. Here's a question: will I accept your projects late? I'm asking y'all. Will I? Yes.
Yep.
No. Maybe so. Yes. Always. I always accept your work whenever you get it done. I am not stressing on that. Just know that after the 23rd, I'm going to be starting a new unit, right? So I want you to have time to actually get your projects done, and that's why we're starting early, right? I want to give us some time to get it done over the next couple of weeks, right? So first step, you're already here if you're here. For those of you who are watching this, you're already watching it. So there we go. Step 2 is we're going to be using a tool called Canva. Some of you have used Canva before, some of you haven't. I'm going to walk you through how to create a login and how to create a new document on Canva today. And then once we're on, you're just going to share your infographic with me, like your early steps. And then once you've completed all of the steps that I give you, you're just going to, on this one, create a new doc, right? And then you're just going to hit submit saying Shufelt completed everything. And then that way it just alerts me, so I grade it for you, right? Because if you just share it with me, I don't know. If you send me an email saying you shared it with me, man, ain't nobody. I still want you to share. I still want you to share it with me by email, but I can't grade that way. So when we're done with everything, or when you're done with everything, I just want you to hit the submit button and create a new doc for it. Okay. So right now there's a link. It says Canva, or you can even check this out on your phone. So Cynthia, if you're in a safe spot to use your phone, you can still use Canva on your phone. Canva.com. It's like Canvas minus the S. But if you click on that, it's going to take you to a page that may look similar to this, maybe a little bit different. Either way, you either need to log in if you've already used it before, and if you have, I advise that you use your school email, or you just hit the sign up button, and then you can hit the button that says sign up with Google, right? When you click on the sign up with Google, it's going to give you an option to enter in. If you're using one of the computers you've used before, it might give you your an account you've used. Use your school account and use your school password. The reason being is if you forget it, I can give you that password again. So don't come up with like a cute, Boo Boo Bear 858567, right? Like that's not going to be helpful. So just use your school email and your school password to log in, right? I'm going to take a second and let you do that. Once you've created a login or logged in, hit the Y button. If you're having difficulty, let me know and I can try to troubleshoot for you. Or if you're going to do it later, just still drop a Y in the chat for me so I know. Go log in with Google. I'm going to use another account. Be Shufelt. Yeah. Be Shufelt. Did I use the same password that I always use? Mazel tov. All right, cool. So Canva is it's a pretty user-friendly tool for creating designs for multiple different platforms. So if you ever wonder how like people make like those cute little like cover screens for YouTube or for like their little Instagram posts or whatever, a lot of people are using Canva, right? The way you can get started is there should be a button. It's like everyone's interface is a little bit different, so I apologize if yours looks a little bit different than mine. But somewhere in the top, and it's either be on the left or the right, it's usually on the right, there should be a button that says Create a Design. And if you click on that, it's going to give you like kind of a drop-down menu with different options, right? You can search for different options or create a custom dimension. We're going to be making an infographic, so you can either scroll down where it says infographic. If that's not popping up for you, you can type infographic into the search, and then it will come up for you. Okay? And see how it's saying 800 by 2000 pixels? So when I click on it, it should give you a big, long white sheet that looks something similar to this. Okay? Now, for the time being, I don't want you, actually, you know what? We're going to take a second to do it, because why not? On the left-hand side is the toolbar, right? And so I'm going to go over the tools that you have available to you first. On the top left-hand side, sorry, Cynthia. Cynthia can't hear us anymore. On the left-hand side, you have these toolbars. Give me like a thumbs up or a Y if you can see what I'm talking about over here, where it says template uploads and so on. Cool, thank you, Yas, for the thumbs up. All right, so templates are exactly what they sound like. If I click on one of these, it will throw in a new template for me based off of, you know, whichever one I pick, right? And then you can click on the boxes here, and you can, well, let me just show you. Say you wanted to keep some of the same graphics, you could just change the size by clicking on the little balls in the top corners, right? If you wanted to change text, you could double click in any of the text boxes, highlight, and change. Right? Whatever you want to chat for there. So actually, let's take like we'll take like a minute to go over templates, right? Just play around with the templates. Go look. You can, if you click on recently used see all, right? There aren't that many in that little section, but for me, you can go and check and see all the different kind of templates that are available and out there. Just look at them for a minute, because we're gonna do our own thing, but I just want you to kind of see what's available to you. So it's 11:42. Take like 2 minutes to just kind of look at the different templates. I like that one. It's a pretty cool template. Give you another minute, then we'll hop on to the next little bit. Okay, party people. So here's the deal. If you ever do something and you want to undo it, right? There's 2 ways to go about that. You can either click on the undo arrow up here, or you can do Control Z. If you hit Control Z, it will undo things in the same way. If you liked something that you didn't want to undo, you can always do the redo button, right? let's just go back to having a blank white screen for now, because I just want to show you some of the basics, right? I'm going to skip uploads first, and I want to go straight to photos. Photos are already existing pictures that are in Canva. Most of them you can use for free, but if you see one that has a little crown on it, like this one that says Pro, you can't use it without paying, right? So you're only going to want to take the free images if I'm asking you to take one, okay? Elements are things like little like GIF pictures, like stickers or shapes that you could bring in, right? What I want you to do is I want you to go to Elements and I want you to click on the square, and it should pop up a square for you. Let me know, drop a Y in the chat when you get a square up on your page. Go to Elements, and then you go to Shapes, and then there should be a square right here for you already. You can click on circles. They're all going to be gray and ugly to start with, but just a square. I just want you to give me a square. Anyone struggling to find the square? I hear nothing. I hear silence. Okay. Well, hopefully you're getting the square. When you do, I want you to drag your mouse over to the right-hand side of the square and just stretch it out so that it kind of takes up the top portion, and then shrink it a little so it looks like a title bar, because we're going to use it for a title bar. If you want to change the color of the square, you just go up to the left-hand corner. You can click color. I want mine to be red. You can make yours whatever color you want. And then I want to put some text in it, right? We're going to make a title for this infographic. So you got to click on the text button. Now, up top are three basic texts, like headings, subheadings, and then body text, right? Which is just a fancy way of saying big text, medium text, little text, right? Underneath that, they have a bunch of fancy text that you can use if you want. I don't really particularly care what kind of text you use. Granted, we are talking about coronavirus, so if you use one that's called Good Vibes, that might not be the best, but who knows? Maybe you want to just like shock people into paying attention. I'm just going to click the simple add a heading one, because once you click on it, it automatically drops the text into your Canva page, right? I want you to title your infographic right now, COVID-19. You can change it later, but for right now, that's all I want. So what you should have is just a simple box with a simple text that says COVID-19. If you want to change the font, if you click on it, it gives you a toolbar, similar to a toolbar that you would see in like Google Drive, right? So if you want to change the font to kind of any of these right here, say I want to change the font to that. Well, that's actually a good font for this. It looks kind of, it's kind of COVID-y, right? And then all I'm going to ask you to do for this first starting phase, right? Because you're just starting off. I want you to answer some questions that if you've been keeping up with the weeks and the weekly folders, you should be able to answer, right? So I'm going to just click on subheading. The first thing that I want you to type in is, I want you to answer this question. What is COVID-19? Right? What is the disease, right? This should be no more than 2 sentences. Right? Because the purpose of the infographic is to make it really clear and simple, right? And then I want you to add, I'm going to add just a blank square, but what I want you to add is I want you to have a photo. So I'm just going to type that in there so you know what I'm looking for. So what is COVID-19? And I want you to find a picture, right? That picture doesn't necessarily need to be of a virus, but it shouldn't be of a pizza, right? And then the next thing that I want you to add and answer is, how does it spread? Again, 2 sentences tops. And then another photo. That's it. That's all I want you to do to get started on your projects this week. Okay? So that's all that there is for this session. I'm going to hang around to help walk anyone through what needs to, like, if you're struggling with Canva right now. But all I want you to do is, once you've done this, oh wait, sorry, there's one last piece, right? So I want you to share it with me. So up top in the top hand bar, there's a button that says share. My email is bschufelt@youthbuildcharter.org, right? And you have an option to whether I can view it or edit it. I don't care which you give me. If you give me edit, that means I can help fix it for you if you're having trouble. So that's probably better. And then just hit the send button, right? I can't send it to myself, but you'll be able to hit send to me, right? Whenever you've got that like up and done. So actually do that now. Share it with me right now. Don't wait on that, so I can see it. So again, it's bschufelt@youthbuildcharter.org, right? BSHUFELTYUTHBUILDCHARTER.org. So that way I can see where you're at. Okay. Aside from that, you're free to bounce. But again, I'm going to be here to help walk anyone through if you so need it. Okay.